How's it going, YouTube? And welcome back to my channel. I'm Captain Westicle. This is Shan Chan. And welcome to another episode of A Heated Review. Today, we're going to be talking about Logan. The general consensus for this movie is that it is one of the best Marvel movies ever. People have hailed it as a masterpiece and so emotional, and just people have been gushing all sorts of good things about it. I hate this movie.
I hate this movie.
So, this one might be a long one because we hate this movie so much. I literally felt sick to my stomach leaving the theater and just mad. Like, so mad that I just wanted to go all Wolverine Berserker mode and start smashing things. But,
Well, I was sitting there throughout the entire movie with a hopefulness, and this is our son Todd, sorry. I was sitting there with a hopefulness in the theater, and I kept waiting for something to get better, and every time one of our points came up and I was angered, I'm like, no, 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 no. They've gotten better.
She was incredibly stoked about this movie just based on the preview alone.
Oh, the Johnny Cash preview?
Best part of the movie.
Where it plays the song Hurt, and it shows the preview. It was so well fitted to the Logan story. And that song, even though I'm a great Nine Inch Nails fan, I love the Johnny Cash cover, and it really works.
And I hate Johnny Cash,
He
but I
hates
love that song.
every Johnny Cash song except for Hurt.
You can bring on the hate mail for that too. Yeah, I hate Johnny Cash.
He also hates Nine Inch Nails, by the way. Just as another point.
But that song makes me think of Wolverine.
It's I never thought of Wolverine until they did that, and I'm like, so perfect. Yeah. It gave me chills.
A perfect song.
And to see Charles Xavier again, because, of course, the last time I really saw in that line of movies what happened to him was X-Men 3,
big
Last
Patrick
Stand.
Stewart fan.
I did not like Last Stand because I am such a big Patrick Stewart fan and Xavier fan.
Oh, that was a pretty emotional moment.
It was
more emotional than anything they tried to do in this movie.
True. But I was excited to see Xavier again. And yes, Days of Future Past was a decent movie. We'll possibly do that one in the future.
I love that movie, by the way. I'm also a huge fan of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in general, in spite of most of the X-Men movies not really being that good.
But when it comes to Logan, we're both on the very big downer. Past the preview, I was disappointed after disappointed after disappointed.
So disappointed in this movie.
We have a lot of places to check on our list for this one, so let's try to get through it.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase.
You want to try starting with unoriginal?
Yeah, this movie was incredibly unoriginal. Very little original about it. The only cool thing was having a Wolverine clone, in my opinion. That was a really cool bad guy. Scary. I mean, it was kind of like a Terminator type thing going on, where he just kept coming. It was just gonna, you knew that he was just gonna kill you eventually. But yeah, that's really the only thing that I have to say that's good about the film at this point in time. The story, as far as I'm concerned, this movie should have been called A Wolverine Road Trip, because all they do is drive around in cars from one place to another, and it doesn't really even make sense where they're going most of the time. I mean, even at the beginning of the movie, Wolverine's driving around in a limo, which also didn't really make that much sense since he was drunk most of the time. And for those of you who've read the comic books, Wolverine can't get drunk. Figure that one out.
Well, they are trying to say that he's losing his power.
Also an unoriginal idea.
So if he's losing his power, then he's losing his ability to keep from getting drunk as well. And I guess being depressed and losing his power, he wants to get drunk more.
I guess that can be a decent counter-argument to that.
Depression can make you become a drinker, but...
However, for those of you who have read the Old Man Logan series, none of that happened. Of course, this isn't really a retelling of the Old Man Logan story as much as it is of saying, oh, Wolverine's old, let's tell a story where he's old, because it really had nothing to do with the Old Man Logan storyline at all.
But you gotta admit they can't do the Old Man Logan
Yeah,
story.
because they didn't have the rights to half the characters in that story.
Exactly. Almost all the characters. They
Which
don't have the
leads
rights.
me to say, maybe they should have told a different story. I mean, Hugh Jackman is still awesome at 47. There's no reason at all that they even need to tell the Old Man Logan story at this point. Wait until he's 60 and then tell it. But let's go over some unoriginal points, since that's where we're looking at for right now. She already mentioned losing his healing powers, which they did in the last Wolverine movie, The Wolverine, where he was robbed of his powers or whatever. There is no need at all to rehash that. You've only got 3 Wolverine movies. Why do the same thing in 2 of them? Which leads us to some of our other points as far as the unoriginality
Yeah,
goes.
if you want to talk about doing them in 2 of the Wolverine out of 3, what happens?
They stole everything.
What
in this
happens
movie.
in a Wolverine Origins? He meets a nice family who helps him out.
Takes him into a farmhouse, lets him spend the night.
Feeds him, clothes him, takes care of him.
You're supposed to get the warm fuzzies from all the kindness and love they're pouring Wolverine's way.
And then, of course, the bad guys come in and blow the shit up and kill everybody. Seriously? You're going to do this again? And even worse...
They made it black people this time, so now it's a hate crime. Just saying.
Stop. I was going to say it's even worse because he knows that he's running from the law with Xavier this time. And it's not just one little group after him.
He wasn't naked with nowhere to go. He had a car. He had resources. He had means of his own transportation.
There was
and
no
Professor
reason.
X is like, we
I've
need to go and help their horses that have gotten out of their trailer over there.
And then he says, I've not had a good good meal in a long time.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So then they go and help the horses, and then they're like, well, you should come to our house because that's what you do when you help somebody on the side of the road. You automatically get invited over to their house.
And then I love how after they have the meal, it's too late for you to go get a hotel. Look at the clock on the wall.
Well, it's like 7 at night or something like that. Yeah.
He says it's a couple of hours till the next hotel. That's like 9 o'clock. Yes, that's way too late to go anywhere. You better stay and endanger this nice farm family. There is no reason.
Plenty of people out there hate Wolverine Origins, and we may do that as a later review. But that section of Wolverine Origins was done way better in that movie than in this movie.
I actually enjoyed that part of Wolverine Origins.
I did too. I did.
And this
there are a lot of good things about that movie, but we'll stick with this one. Yeah.
This one, it was not done well. It was
forced. It was majorly forced. And it didn't make any sense.
Did you want to go more onto that scene, or did you want to go more on originality?
Oh, we could talk about the farmhouse scene forever, as far as the stupidity of it.
Well, there's more points that we're supposed to get.
Well,
so which way do you want to go?
Let's go into the farmhouse a little bit more. Like, how about the fact that the dad gets run through the chest by the Wolverine clone, and is still able to get up later and shoot him with a shotgun for whatever the reason? No.
Or Xavier.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go, but go ahead.
Xavier didn't know that that was the clone and not the real Wolverine.
No way. He would have known that in a heartbeat because he can read minds. Or did people forget that when they were writing that scene?
Well, see...
Senile or not senile, he's going to know the difference.
He'd have some kind of feeling. He wouldn't be that straightforward about it. He'd have some kind of inkling like, this is not quite right.
Yes.
Something.
And then the clone just walks in there and stands there for a few minutes so that Patrick Stewart has a chance to give his little speech about this being one of the best nights he can remember and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it doesn't kill him right away, but he kills everybody else right away.
The clone's like, well, let me stand by so that you can spout
have your
BS there, and then I'll kill you.
Then I'll kill you.
Then we're done.
And then I'm going to walk downstairs and walk right past the real Logan, stare him straight in the eye, and then walk out the front door.
And not even engage him in combat.
Wolverine has to figure out what he's done and then go after him.
So if he's not there to kill Logan, why is he there? I don't know.
They're very uneven with their story here. Very uneven.
Yeah. So
that's most of the farmhouse stuff.
Yeah. Again, we could talk about that garbage forever, but let's move on.
If we remember anything specific later, we'll mention it. But let's move on.
Yes.
Let's.
How about the fact that in this scenario that they're painting in Logan, all the other mutants are dead?
Why?
Well, they kind of did that in Days of Future Past too, where all the mutants were dead. Of course, there's a couple of them, a handful of them that are still alive until they reach the end of the movie.
But did they say why the mutants are dead?
In which movie?
Either.
Well, in Days of Future Past, the Sentinels hunted them all down and killed them.
Okay, but how about Logan?
Yeah. Not really any explanation. They offer two possible scenarios, but they don't get into detail about either of them. The first being that Caliban has helped the bad guys hunt down and kill all the mutants. How?
Plausible for some, not all.
If for people who've watched any X-Men movie, there are way too many mutants for one guy to be able to hunt them all down.
They cover the whole world. That wouldn't be extinct.
And for anybody who's read the comic books, Caliban doesn't have that ability anyway. And there is no indication at all to make you think that he has that ability in this movie either, other than the fact that they just say that he helped them. Okay.
Doesn't he have some kind of sniffing ability? Smelling off the...
Yeah, I think that's Wolverine. And we've got a pretty good sniffing ability too, because we're smelling an awful lot of BS in this movie. Anyway, the second scenario is that Professor X killed them all, which is accurate in the Old Man Logan, I believe.
Yeah, and from
in the Old Man Logan.
I'm saying from the movie and his little story that he gives that's very vague.
Yeah.
He kind of hints on it, but in the Old Man Logan story, it goes even deeper where
Wolverine kills them all.
Wolverine does?
Yeah. Because Mysterio makes him believe that they're bad guys or whatever, which also doesn't make sense. But we digress.
In Logan, it hints that Xavier had something to do with at least
and the only
some
way
of them.
he'd be able to do that for people that
Cerebro.
saw X-Men 2 is to hook up to Cerebro and kill them all that way. And obviously, in his feeble state, that's never going to happen. And he doesn't have access to Cerebro anyway. So
it could have happened a long time ago, though.
Maybe.
And that's why he's so guilty in his little story before he's killed by the clone.
I guess that's a possible explanation.
And that's why he gone crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that, when he goes crazy, like, everybody around him starts to suffer in some kind of mental state.
Because honestly,
technically, if he was hooked up to Cerebro when that happened, maybe he could have killed them all, but he doesn't kill anybody in this movie, not even people that are close by when he has one of his little mental breakdowns.
But in X-Men 2, he has that specific mutant who's manipulated.
You're talking about Stryker's kid, the dude in the wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To manipulate Xavier, to make him think that he has to kill all the mutants. Yeah. And if that were to happen and actually work, unlike X-Men 2, and then he's brought out of it, he could possibly have gone crazy. That could drive a man crazy, which could drive a lot of guilt and stuff like that. But again, it would have needed a little bit, at least a little bit more background, something in the movie.
If that is what happened, they should have at least given us a little flashback or something rather than just
a very vague story.
Yeah, just vaguing it and, having us try and fill in all the gaps.
So I can come up with stuff.
I'm not buying it.
I can come up with stuff that I could buy.
I say it's lazy storytelling.
No, I could come up with stuff that I could buy, but they did not even close come to executing it correctly. And even if they tap on it in a future X-23 movie, I'm sorry, if this is the last Logan movie, you should have at least wrapped up the Logan stuff. Anything that has to do with Logan and X-23, sure, you can leave it open to be for the future, to have the sequel open and everything like that, fine. But you need to at least wrap up the Logan stuff, and I believe Xavier's very Logan-esque. That needs to be wrapped up. And it wasn't done. It was very lazy. It was very dull. I hated it. I didn't even tear up when Xavier died.
Neither did I. And we
And
both love that character.
I love
Again, like
Xavier
you said
dearly.
earlier, when he died in X-Men 3, that was a lot more emotional.
Oh, I bawled in that movie, and I hated that
Yeah.
movie.
This
I
one, they
bawled.
were just so lazy that
I was mad.
you just didn't care.
I was so mad. I'm like, he shouldn't. No.
Yeah.
No.
He could have killed the Wolverine clone in his sleep. But nope, just lets him sashay right in there.
There's even ways that he could have even said to the real Logan that same story, and then died in his sleep just because he's old, and that would have been more emotional to me than him being fooled by a fake Logan. No. 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 Next.
What? No.
Still unoriginal points.
Yeah.
How about some Shane? This is more your specialty. I have not seen the movie Shane, although I do know...
I'd be willing to wager half the people that watched Logan have not seen Shane.
Probably not.
Which, again, made it a really stupid reference. And the fact that they even had to reference another movie to get their point across, I also felt was kind of stupid.
See, I'm different on this. Even though I haven't seen Shane, I recognize that they were referencing Shane. I recognized the movie Shane, even though I'd never seen Shane.
If you haven't seen Shane, give it a watch. It's one of the best westerns ever.
Anyways, and I understand that they were referencing it to reference it later to kind of make an homage.
Yeah, for people that have seen Shane, it would give you a much more emotional impact at the end of the movie where Wolverine dies. Spoiler alert. For people that have actually seen Shane. But the problem is...
Well, this whole thing's spoiler. I think
Shane was made in the 50s. The majority of people that are going to be watching Logan have not seen Shane. Way less than half. But, you know, James Mangold is a big Western guy and wanted to make this kind of a Western style movie. So, you know, again, we're back to unoriginality. You can't get your point across any other way than to reference another movie that half your audience hasn't even seen.
But there are good movies that do reference old movies that not very many people have seen.
Yes.
Like, I mean...
what they did in Back to the Future, where they reference A Fistful of Dollars.
I believe E.T. references with the frogs and the kissing in the classroom.
Yeah, but that's not one movie. That's
No, E.T. is watching a specific movie on the TV. Remind me which movie this is.
You can put it in the comments if you know.
Yeah, but he's in the classroom, he's just freed all the frogs, and he's kissing the girl because he's mentally linked with E.T., and it's not necessarily a movie, because I believe it's black and white, that a lot of kids watching E.T. would know. But it's put in a way that is general enough for everybody to get, at least. Even if it is an Easter egg for the people who really do love those movies. Which, like I said, I haven't seen Shane, and I got that.
When we're talking about E.T., I got it, and I hadn't seen the movie they were referencing. In this situation, if you haven't seen Shane, I mean, you may get it based on the clip from Shane that they show, but it's not going to have the emotional impact that the director was looking for.
That's how I was. I have not seen Shane, but I knew enough about Shane to get that it was Shane, and to get that it was referencing the clip. It was a little bit on the nose. It was a little bit on the nose reference. If it showed a different scene and then referenced another scene that still everybody got, that would be a little bit more of an homage. This was a little bit more on the friggin' nose.
Again, lazy storytelling and incredibly unoriginal. They could have made that point themselves within the story of this movie, and it would have been way more emotionally impactful than what they got.
Or done a better homage for the movie than a complete copy.
Or picked a different movie that the majority of the audience would have actually seen.
Or at least a scene that is more referenced. Because there's a lot of movies that people have never seen, but they know the movie, but they know the specific scene.
Yeah.
So there's some movies totally unknown, but they can say the scene word for word. Same with my parents. I know movies. Oh, I can quote scenes. I could never tell you what movies they're from, but I can quote them. You can do that. You can do that with Shane. I mean, the whole ending. Shane. Everybody knows that part. But anyways, We digress.
Yes.
It could have been done a lot better. This is from two different points of view. One who has seen Shane, one who hasn't. So you can't say that it's because one way or the other, because we have both different points of view and yet the same point of view. You agree? Alright, so let's go on to the next one.
Next unoriginal point.
Let's see here. Captured mutants.
We have a whole bunch of mutants
Captured
in a confined facility where they're getting lab experiments done on them.
Yeah, this sounds very much like
and somehow
a reboot.
they all escape and find their freedom.
Very much like a reboot.
Kind
that
of like
we were
at
shown.
the end of Wolverine Origins.
Well, not a reboot, but a spin-off, I guess it would be called. Yeah, it's the end of Wolverine Origins, which is actually where the farm scene was stolen from the beginning part. This is very much Wolverine
and everyone
Origins.
cans Wolverine Origins, but everybody loves this movie, and all the stuff that they stole from Wolverine Origins, everyone's like, oh, this is awesome.
Which, honestly,
the
with
problem with Wolverine Origins is everybody hated Deadpool, and so they're just going to hate the movie in general.
And Deadpool is awful.
Oh, he's awful.
So awful.
He's awful.
We can talk about the whole movie in more...
Another review.
Another review. Anyways, but still, it's like they're taking one movie, trying to make it better, and our honesty is making it worse because it's a copy upon it.
This entire storyline is basically stolen from other X-Men and Wolverine movies and just mashed together. And, like, people didn't like the other movies, but then they like this one? I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
And I understand with the other movies at least the points that they hate and the points that they like.
Yeah, we may be talking about a lot of X-Men movies in the future reviews because they're so controversial.
They are
especially between, you know, the mass audiences and the comic book fans.
And because I watched the cartoon a lot when I was a kid. Oh, I loved the Phoenix Saga. That's why I hated X-Men 3 so much. But
stay on topic.
I loved the cartoons. I never read the comics. I didn't know the true story.
I was a huge X-Men comic book fan. However, I did not read Wolverine comics. They were a little bit too
dark.